World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It involved the major world powers of the time and resulted in the deaths of millions of people. There are several factors that led to the outbreak of World War I, including political, economic, and social factors. One of the key political factors that contributed to the outbreak of World War I was the system of alliances that existed between the major powers. These alliances were created in order to provide security and protect the interests of the countries involved, but they also created a situation where a conflict between two countries could quickly escalate into a global war. Another political factor was the rise of nationalism, which led to a sense of competition and rivalry between nations. This was particularly evident in Europe, where countries were competing for territory and influence. Economically, there were also factors that contributed to the outbreak of World War I. Industrialization had led to an increased demand for raw materials, and there was competition between nations to secure access to these resources. There was also a desire to expand markets for goods and services, which led to a scramble for colonies and territories. Socially, there was a sense of excitement and enthusiasm for war among many people, particularly young men who were eager to prove their bravery and patriotism. Propaganda was used to encourage this enthusiasm and to portray the war as a noble cause. The immediate trigger for the outbreak of World War I was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Serbian nationalist in June 1914. This event led to a chain reaction of alliances and declarations of war, as countries rushed to defend their allies or pursue their own interests. The war was fought on multiple fronts, with major battles taking place in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. The introduction of new technologies, such as airplanes and chemical weapons, made the war more deadly and destructive than any previous conflict. The causes of World War I can be traced back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. One major cause was the rise of nationalism and the desire for territorial expansion. Countries were seeking to assert their dominance over other nations and expand their empires. Another cause was the system of alliances that had developed between the major powers. These alliances meant that if one country went to war, its allies would be drawn in as well, leading to a chain reaction of conflicts. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Serbian nationalist was the spark that ignited the war. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and soon other countries were drawn into the conflict. The major events that took place in the World War I are: assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist, which ultimately led to the start of World War I. Outbreak of war. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and soon after, other countries joined in the conflict, including Germany, Russia, France, and Britain. Trench warfare. From 1914 to 1918, both sides dug extensive trench systems along the Western Front, resulting in a stalemate and years of bloody and brutal fighting. Battle of the Somme. In 1916, the British launched a major offensive against the German army near the Somme River, resulting in a large number of casualties for both sides. Russian Revolution. In 1917, the Russian Revolution overthrew the Tsarist regime and established a communist government, which eventually withdrew from the war. U.S. entry. In April 1917, the United States entered the war on the side of the Allies, contributing troops and resources that helped turn the tide of the war. Armistice. On November 11, 1918, Germany signed an armistice with the Allies, ending the war and paving the way for the Treaty of Versailles. Impact. World War I had a profound impact on the world. It resulted in the deaths of millions of people and left many more injured and traumatized. The war led to significant changes in the political and social structures of many countries. It marked the end of empires, such as the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires, and the rise of new nations, such as Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia. The Treaty of Versailles, which ended the war, imposed harsh penalties on Germany, including massive reparations payments and the loss of territory. Many historians believe that these penalties contributed to the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, which ultimately led to World War II. The war ended in November 1918 with the defeat of the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, and the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed harsh penalties on Germany and laid the groundwork for World War II. The war had a profound impact on the world, including the redrawing of borders, the collapse of empires, and the emergence of the United States as a global superpower. In conclusion, World War I was a global conflict that had a profound impact on the world. It was caused by a complex web of political and social factors, and resulted in the deaths of millions of people. Its impact on the world can still be felt today, and it serves as a reminder of the devastating consequences of war. Thank you for watching.